Football League. Join us each week throughout the football season as some of the world's top podcasters discover new businesses, make silly fantasy football bets amongst friends, and promote positivity around the globe. This show could not be possible without the support of Mike King and ESPN Richmond. A special thanks to our sponsors, Caregiving Worldwide, Brilliant Beam Media, and the Walking Tall Movement.
Hey, here we are. What a rocking intro. I've got to get an awesome intro like that for my podcast. Welcome to Business Bets and Buddies. My name is Mark Reid. I am usually the host of Zen Sandwich, a podcast you can find on Spotify, Apple, everywhere you look. Zen Sandwich, and sandwich is spelled the funny way, Sammich. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about fantasy football and pretty much any topic that just comes up. I am cohorting this particular episode with my friend Mike Ashabraner, at Ashabraner, excuse me. That was an unintentional slip from an old nickname that he doesn't like. Mike, why don't you tell us about who you are and then who's sponsoring the show here?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mark Reid. Pleasure to be here, my friend. Oh, my bad.
I deserve it. That's
Hey,
fine.
dude, I'm okay, man. I'm the honey badger, bro. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, we got to say shout out, as Sia likes to affectionately call him. Mike Reid. I'm sorry, Mike King. Mike King Biz. Boy, we're off to a good start. Waking people up this morning, man. So yeah, we got to shout out to Mike King Biz Radio here on ESPN Richmond 106.1. Have to give a big shout out to Brilliant Beam Media for making all this possible. Wonderful company, digital media, and the Walking Tall movement, man, centered around mental health and helping people get unstuck and get that help that they need, man, so they can be their best and do their best. And last but not least, the Hounds of Business Community. Yours truly, Mike Ashabraner. Uh, yeah, man, I'm blessed to have these great people around us and just have a good time and inspire people, Mark.
Well, let's get one thing out of the way at the top, because we are this is like a quasi sports show, even though we talk about business and whatever we want. We're all the podcasters are in a fantasy football league together, and I think we need to mention that I'm currently killing it in the league. I am number one, and I'm ahead of the second place, which is you, Mike, by 2 games. So I could lose to
I'm
and still be
only,
tied for first.
as you pointed out, I have the strongest team, but I'm a bad manager. Like I forgot, I just got lucky this week. I'll be honest. I'm beating up failure guys with Ben Courier.
Well, his name is
And
literally the Failure Guys.
right. So I can't lose to that guy.
Right.
It's like we suck
Yeah.
the most. Like we got to be, But yeah, if I manage my team and I'm taking you down. So if we get a rematch, beware, buddy.
Well,
That's all I got to say.
you didn't the first time around. That's all I gotta say is we did have one match already, and I don't want to reveal the score or anything, but I did emerge victorious. Anyway, and I won again this week. You won big time this week. So it's an interesting season. The thing that people don't realize about fantasy football, you only got to be in the top 4, and then the records go out the window, and you're in the playoffs against each other. And the playoffs, really, the dynamics different because if you've got players that are on strong teams, that's also the end of the NFL season. So teams don't play them because they don't want them to get hurt before the actual playoffs. So you got to really change how you do things. So, Mike, I'll be honest with you. I'm most scared of your team. If I make it, I'm going to make it to the playoffs. Let's just call a spade spade. But I'm most scared of you.
Well, you're only scared of me if I stay busy. See, I don't have the life of leisure and luxury that you do, my friend. So I have to be busy. So I forget I have a fantasy team because I don't really own a team, right? They don't bring me money. But you sir have made it personal. And yeah, I'm coming for you, man. I'm putting it on my refrigerator that I beat Mark Reid. It's gonna be shameful. But you wait, man, it's coming. You test me.
Yeah, well, I have been beaten once this time, and the person who beat me, Raquel Boras, she never lets me live it down. She reminds me daily almost. Well, we won't bore everybody with fantasy football for too long, but however, some people might care whether they're listening on ESPN Richmond radio. And they're like, man, what can I do with my fantasy team? I do have 2 pointers because I have done this before, and you don't have to know about football. You really, really don't. You have to do 2 things. You have to stay consistent. That means you got to each week you got to look and see, is this player out or is this player, because I've beaten 2 or 3 teams this time because people didn't start a wide receiver when they had the person out or they were injured or whatever. So you just got to, stay consistent, and you have to pay attention. You've got to like just look at like, hey, my kicker is going against the strongest team this week or whatever. Just pay attention to those little details, stay consistent. You don't have to know all the ins and outs of NFL. Nobody usually does. So anyway, that's my pointers. Mike, what are your pointers?
Yeah, pay attention. That's the problem. If I paid attention, I'd be the star and everybody be after me. But
Yeah.
I do it for the social aspect, man. That's what I get at. And I love this show because yeah, it's a little trash talking. We have fun, but I mean, dude, our guest today, man, that's what I do this for. Like, just
Yeah, let's
totally inspiring, man.
who is you brought on a guest, and mine is having some technical difficulties, so we might not get to her, but so who did you bring on today?
Oh man, the one and only Jen Drummond. And, my gosh, so she is, Guinness World Record holder for becoming the first woman to climb the 7-second summits. Inspiring story. I'm not gonna spoil it, but, let's bring her up. Hey, Jen, how are you today?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
That
Oh my
that,
goodness, I had pleasure.
that is an incredible accomplishment.
Yes, it was a big one. Definitely a challenge. It took me 2.5 years to complete it and 2 mountains twice.
I've climbed Mount Fuji in Japan. I don't know if you know how familiar I don't know how familiar you are with Mount Fuji, but it is a molehill compared to all of your summits.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even the climb in Australia, which is one of the second summits, I live higher in Utah than what the top of that mountain was. So they gave us one freebie in that mix of 7.
There you
That was
go.
my freebie.
Nice.
Yes.
Cool. So how's your fantasy football team doing? That's a
Yeah,
joke.
the it's real fantasy at this point in my
Well,
life.
Yeah. Well, I had to bring Jen on. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, I know you're busy. You do so much. You got a business. You got several businesses. You have a lot of children. You just got a full boat. So we appreciate you. But your story is so inspiring to me, Jen, and to most people. So you had a regular life, right? Like just kind of like regular life, and then you had a tragedy, and then wow, a massive 180 pivot. So share with us your story. Tell us about that because I think so many people can relate to this message.
Yeah, no, I was the girl next door that we all know. I was a stay-at-home mom taking care of my kids. They were in school full time and subscribed to the idea that once they got to college, I could get back to me. 2018 changed that. I got into a horrific car crash that should have taken my life, but thankfully didn't. A few weeks after that accident, a girlfriend of mine went running on a trail. She slipped, hit her head, and never came home. So the sequence of these 2 crazy events, me surviving a car crash that they could not rebuild a scenario where I lived, and then her doing something healthy and not coming back, made me realize we don't get to choose when we die, but we sure get to choose how we live. And when I reflected on my life, I really wasn't living. I was just going through the motions to get through this stage of life. And I don't think any of us should spend time in that space. So 2019 became this year of the bucket list. I started thinking of all the things I wanted to see, do, experience, and try in this magical world. In 2020, I was turning 40. So I looked over my list and I said, okay, what am I going to do for my 40th birthday? And climb a mountain stood out. So I decided to climb a mountain named Ama de Blanc. As we all remember, back in 2020, at the beginning of the year, COVID struck. I became a homeschool teacher to 7 children.
wow.
So one of my kids was struggling with his math homework, and I was trying to give him the parent pep talk, like, we do hard things, you've got this. And he looks at me and he goes, if we do hard things, why are you climbing a mountain called I'm a Dumb Blonde instead of a real mountain like Mount Everest?
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
yeah,
Can
I'm
I-
a Dablom, not I'm a Dumb Blonde, sweetheart, but thank you.
Can I ask first, like, why did that stick out on your bucket? We all have bucket lists, right? I mean, there's still stuff I want to do. I've done half my bucket list. I still got half more. Actually, my bucket list keeps getting longer, not shorter.
Yeah.
Keep adding stuff to it. So why did that one stick out? Climb a mountain.
I'd done one mountain before. I climbed the Grand Teton in Jackson Hole back in
Nice.
2016. So I had a good memory there. I wanted to just do something challenging, right? We feel alive when we're pushing against our limits. And that was something that was going to be really challenging for me. And
Okay.
it grabbed my eye. And then my son upped the thing to Everest. And I looked at Everest and I thought, you know what? If he thinks this is the hardest thing in the whole world, I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. I've never slept in a tent before, but we'll figure it out, right? No big deal.
Wow.
So then I took on the Everest quest, and my coach that I hired sent me a book about becoming an uphill athlete. And in the front of that book, there was a lady who got a Guinness World Record for doing something in the Alps. And I just remember telling my coach, I could have done that. Like my kids learned how to read on Guinness World Record books. I'd be the coolest mom ever. So he's like, don't worry, I'll think of something. And a few weeks later, he calls back. He's like, Jen, I have the perfect record for you. He's like, I think you should be the first female to climb the 7-second summits. Like everybody listening here, I had no clue what he was talking about. Like, what are you even saying?
Yeah,
Goes,
explain that,
"Listen."
please. What the 7-second summits? To tell people what that is.
Yeah. So it's the second highest point on each of the 7 continents. It's actually harder than the first 7, and it only been done by one male. So I'm like,
wow.
okay, cool. I'll be the first woman to do this and remind people that we can be humans outside of our motherhood identity. And so I said yes.
So yeah, the continent Asia, where Mount Everest is the second one K2. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So
yeah,
Everest was training ground for K2.
that's what I've heard. That the second highest is actually harder than Everest.
Yes.
Wow.
Much harder.
Were you ever scared?
Oh, yeah. We're all scared. I mean,
Well, I know,
whether we're climbing
I
a
don't.
physical or metaphorical mountain, there's some fear that we have to face no matter
Well,
what our journey is.
of course. What I mean is like not beforehand, like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. Here we go. But like you're up there and you're like, oh no, I'm not saying like, did you have a we might die today moment, but well, did you?
Yeah, no, we did actually, to be honest with you. It took me 2 times to climb K2. On the first attempt, a teammate of mine died in an avalanche.
Man, and
And
that didn't discourage you from going back?
well, I said I was going to do the record and I wouldn't have the record if I didn't climb the mountain.
Wow, you're my hero.
And so for me, I had a choice that year if I wanted to continue up the mountain or go down. I was like, my teammate just died in an avalanche. I am not going up the mountain. I'm going to go down and take care of my team.
Mm.
Who we are as people is way more important than anything we'll achieve. So I went down and we did all the things. I went back to the States and then I came back in 2022 and luckily summited that year.
Wow. So you did write a book about this stuff, right?
Yes, yes. So I wrote a book named Break Proof,
Okay.
7 strategies to build resilience and achieve your life goals. And I take the reader on my mountain expeditions, demonstrate some of the lessons that I've learned, and then help you extract those and apply them to your own lives.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think if people can see us right now, some people are listening in Richmond, Virginia on ESPN radio, but people who can see us can see a little QR code that you can just scan there to go get the book, right?
Please do. Yeah. And if you buy now, it ships out in January 9. There's a whole bunch of fun freebies and bonuses for those who pre-order.
Sweet. So
I have a
go ahead, Mike.
no. When you set out to do this, did you, again, did you expect what happened afterwards, becoming an international speaker and inspiring people and writing books? And did that even cross your mind, or you just saw a mountain do it? I mean, was it surprising what happened after?
I think the whole journey has been this surprising, humbling, crazy experience. A lot of times we have goals and then we realize the goal is not even the goal, right? The goal is what gave us
Yeah.
direction. It gave us purpose to step into a certain pursuit. And then as that pursuit unfolds, so much more magic happens.
That is so true. I have found that. uh, my podcast started as a blog, like the blog led to the podcast. Now the podcast is leading to other things, like to a TED talk and all this stuff. And so
Yeah.
the goals actually never stop. You just
Right.
keep. So where's your next goal going?
Well, I have the book coming out. I'm taking my 3 oldest boys climbing in Africa, and then we're going to do a charity project over there. And
Mm,
I promised myself I wouldn't commit to anything else for a year after
mm,
this pursuit because I think we're so good at chasing the next thing.
yeah.
And I want my story to be an example of celebrating what is and allowing that season of rest before you go into another pursuit.
Yeah. We do have a question from the live audience here. This is Janice. How do you pronounce her last name, Mike? I don't have my glasses on right now.
Uh,
Shokrian.
Shokrion, and I can't believe I got that right. Yeah,
There you go.
been
All
Woohoo!
right.
trained.
Thank you. So Janice wants to know, how did you deal with the fear of potentially leaving your family? And I
Yeah.
guess she might mean either just like when you're actually going on these pursuits or if something did happen to you or whatever.
Yeah, you have to mentally prepare for all of that. So I wrote letters and did videos before I went on each expedition. So if
Wow.
something, God forbid, happened, I had something to leave each human that I cared so deeply about. I also survived a horrific car crash that should have
Uh,
taken my life and didn't. And I have a friend that went running on a trail that should still be here today and isn't. And when you face these realities and you realize I could die driving in my car down the street. I could die running on the trail. I could
yeah.
die on the mountain. And just really checking in with yourself and making sure that you're acting out of purpose and not ego. I mean, I turned around on 2 mountains to go back because I didn't think it was the right time to climb, and I'm still here to talk about it.
Yeah.
So,
How do you get over? Because I think about it too. I think about it, but I try not to think about it too much. That is that, like when my wife goes to the store, I'm like, oh, she could. It's possible.
yeah,
It's not likely, but it's possible she could be in a car accident or something. I don't
right.
dwell on those thoughts because you drive yourself crazy if you did. But you actually went through something so traumatic as that car accident. How do you not like kind of? How do you get out of your own head sometimes?
I mean, it took the first 9 months after that accident, anytime a semi truck passed me on the highway, my heart would be in my throat.
Oh, I
I mean,
bet.
it took a while for my body to feel relaxed enough. So I could do the thing, but I did the thing scared, right? I did the thing with fear that showed up and then had to manage that and keep doing.
Mm,
Um, but we're here to live. Like life is a
yeah.
gift, and our gift back to it is what we do with it. And we just have to continue leaning into the experience of living.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, you've been a fireman. Did did you have any kind of, experiences that I don't know, scared you to death or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, every time I left the house, man. And here's what I think's interesting. Like this is where like tremendous courage. I I couldn't climb a mountain. I was talking to Jen earlier, and I'm like, hey, I like the mountain where it is. Like that. Like if we are hiking and we go to a mountain, I'm going home. And I think that here's the differentiator. I find it interesting if there wasn't a property or life, right, on the line, I wouldn't have had that courage, and I think that's different. Like you had a desire and determination that you could have just left. I couldn't leave. If I left, people die, right? So
Yeah.
I think that the courage and resolve you have is light years, honestly, from what I had in that regard, because I didn't have an out, so I think that mental toughness and that desire, I mean, you had to have battled yourself a million times. Matter of fact, I went rappelling and it was embarrassing because I'm Mr. Fireman and I'm crying on the rope, banging into the rocks, right? 250 foot. So that's when I realized I don't. So how did was it an easier road or was it torture? Like entrepreneurship, like you don't really know what you're getting into. Was it worse than you expected? Was it more challenging mentally than you had anticipated? Or
I think all of it is more than what we ever expected, right? If anybody knew what they were getting into becoming an entrepreneur, I think a lot of us would be like, just kidding, we're good. No, thank you. But the beauty is that we don't know. And it comes at us one step at a time. And so then we have these obstacles that we have to solve and overcome. And then we get this courage to do it again. And this confidence builds from being in the arena and trying. So
Mm,
yeah. And every time I was climbing, my kids are watching. They're
yeah.
watching. If they see their mom do something, then that gives them courage that they can do that same thing. And when they see their mom turn around on a mountain because she doesn't feel safe, that gives them permission to judge internally, is this safe for me or not? And should I turn around?
Yeah.
We're demonstrating how to do life. And I want my kids to learn to live and to trust their inner compass and do what feels best for them.
How do you balance that? You said you had 7 kids, right?
I do. I have
Okay.
7 children, ages 17 to 10.
Wow. Okay, so how do you balance, like, look, your mom is a Guinness Book of World Record holder. I've summited the most difficult peaks in the world, and you're getting a job at McDonald's or whatever. I mean, I don't know what your kids are doing, but I'm just saying, like, how do you're giving them courage by setting an example. How do you balance that with the other side of, like, I'll never live up to mom now. She's written a best-selling book. She climbs mountains. She does everything.
That's a
Yeah, I
good
don't know.
question.
Who's judging that, right? Like, who's defining that success? I think we each get to define our own success.
Yeah.
And I was a waitress at Applebee's. Okay.
I
So
love
we
Applebee's.
all start in different places, and where we decide to go and pivot from there is our own special journey.
That's great. What's left on your bucket list?
Oh my goodness. I have 4 lifetimes it's going to take to get this bucket list done.
Is it all involve mountain climbing now, or are you
No,
like?
you know what? Like, people ask you, I feel the mountain thing it's set its course for me. I'm grateful for the experience. I just feel this globe is a giant playground. And
Yeah.
there's so many other things that I want to do and experience and try that I want to dedicate this entire life to mountaineering.
Okay. Well, if you make it to Tokyo, if you want to climb Mount Fuji, I'll swing by. We can. My wife and I will meet you and your team up there, and we'll have sushi and.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah, I'll say goodbye as you go climb it, 'cause
All
I've climbed it.
right. I love
I've
it.
climbed it once. There's a saying in Japan that the wise man or woman climbs Mount Fuji once, and the fool climbs it twice. Because it's nice to climb, and you get up there. You've climbed it at night actually, but it's a cone. It's a conical mountain, so you don't need gear. You can walk up it. but it is the tallest mountain in Japan. So you get up before the sunrise, and it's amazing to see. Maybe you have a little glass of wine to celebrate that you climb this mountain, then you walk down, and it's done. So you do that once, you just don't do it. You don't do it again. So I'll
There you
watch you. I'll send you off.
All right.
But and yeah, we'll all go sing karaoke somewhere.
Perfect.
We got 3 minutes left. Mike, you want to just run through the sponsors again, and anybody else we need to shout out to?
Yeah, but that won't take 3 minutes. So let me end on this question real quick. So now that you've done it, and I love what you said now, Jen, and earlier about, you know, everybody's got their own summit to challenge, their own their own challenge to tackle. And that's true, and it doesn't have to be, record breaking. We all have that, and I love that message. So, what is the last if someone's stuck right now, or they feel like they're not good enough, or life stinks, but they're holding on to their job or whatever for safety? What is that one little thing that you would give them, maybe just to hopefully nudge them in the right direction, just to get them a little bit of hope? What would it be that one
Yeah.
thing that you would say?
I think the biggest thing any of us can do is ask for help. I think that's one of the hardest things for all of
Wow.
us to do is to ask for help. But ask somebody else's outside opinion. Ask somebody else for help on what their view is of what you're trying to do. Or if you're taking on too much and it just don't have enough energy, who can help lighten that load so you can go further?
Oh, hey, you set me up beautifully like a softball. Knock it out. So that's exactly, hey, ask for help. That's the Hounds of Business, right? Proud sponsor. Yours truly, the leader. I am blessed to be around folks like this. Mark Reid, golly, walking tall. That movement is just unbelievable. The people behind that movement, the collaborations behind it. Also, Brilliant Beam Media making all of these things possible. Absolutely grateful for all the people that we're surrounded with. Again, Mike King Biz Radio. You are the man. And I don't think I left anybody out except good old Mark Reid. Go
Yeah.
check him out at Zen Sandwich. And hey, last 30 seconds. What is the best place for the folks listening on radio right now, Jen, to find you, to connect with you, to learn more about you and what you could do for them and their business?
Yes. So please check out my website, jendrummond.com. That's JENNDRUMMOND. You'll have access to the book, some challenges that I put on, speaking engagements, and all that fun stuff.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Man,
Awesome
thank you
stuff.
so much.
Yeah. I think that's it. So should we roll the outro?
I mean, unless we want to sit here for 15 seconds
Well,
and
look, she
not
did.
get in trouble,
I was
right?
writing down all her tips, and one of her tips was ask for help. So back to the fantasy football league. If you need help, just DM me, and I'll help you.
Yeah. Help me beat you, Mark. You do that, man. That will
I
make you
won't
even
help
better.
you.
in my
I'll
book.
help CJ and all the people and the failure guys at the bottom.
You got it. Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great day at work. Hope you didn't eat too much candy, and we'll see you on the next one. Um, hey, everybody, have a safe day. Do something. Get up, move, ask for help. Stop being stuck, dadgummit. All right, everybody, have a good day. I appreciate you all. Thank you,
There you
Jen,
go.
so much. Thanks, Mark, for hosting, man. Y'all are awesome.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen.
This show would not be possible without the support of Mike King and ESPN Radio. A special thanks to our sponsors, Caregiving Worldwide at caregivingworldwide.com, Brilliant Beam Media at brilliantbeammedia.com, and the Walking Tall Movement at walkingtallmovement.com.